2006. Oblivion has just came out and blown everyone away with its fantastic dialogue.
You are pissing me off. What next?
Smosh was the biggest channel on YouTube, delivering fantastic videos right to your front door.
I'm not paying for those.
I'm leaving Smosh.
And Vince McMahon tried to challenge God to a wrestling match. That's, not a meme. That really happened at a pay-per-view. Vince, you are a fucking psychopath. But most importantly, how's our friend THQ doing? Well, they're on top of the world because SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 was a massive hit. It left critics everywhere absolutely speechless. Angry Joe gave it an 11 out of 10. It caused Walter White's heart to implode from too much adrenaline. And even Gordon Ramsay absolutely loved it.
Oh, fuck me. That shit busted.
But most importantly, it meant everyone was throwing their money directly at THQ. So the big question now was, could THQ keep this money train rolling by pumping out another fantastic game?
I hit a woman!
Or would they just drop the ball entirely?
Butterfingers.
Well, that question was quickly answered when THQ dropped the trailer for SmackDown vs. Raw 2007, which contained graphics that were spicier than a Hot Ones episode. Then it came out, and everyone realized the game looked nothing like the trailer. I'll be expecting to see you in court very soon, THQ.
And I did it because I like it.
Despite the clear downgrade in graphics though, SVR 07 is held in high regard by a lot of fans, with many claiming that it somehow manages to dethrone SVR 06 as the undisputed best game in the series. And I mean, if the soundtrack is anything to go by, I can't disagree. Now at first glance, SVR 07 didn't really look that much different from SVR 06 to me. Then I quickly remembered I was playing the PS2 version and not the Xbox 360 one, which looks infinitely better in comparison, with you being able to almost taste that sweet gamer girl sweat. Very moist. But unfortunately, my 360 died many years ago, and while I could go out and buy a new one, I'd rather be able to feed myself this week, to be honest. Plus this video's already very late.
Sussy baka.
And if I leave it any longer, Susan will kill my channel. Come on, it's not all bad. I mean, you can still appreciate all the little details here, like how Rey Mysterio has a new mask.
What the mask is, that's what
The Divas have breasts bigger than the Titanic, and the return of big, sweaty, shouty men on the main menu.
Damn true. Boobies.
Although, in fairness, Kurt Angle does appear to be completely off his tits. And I'm going to assume these belts were bought from the nearest Toys R Us. On the real though, the game still looks fantastic, with the PS2 version looking just as good as previous years, containing some beautiful wrestlers, filled with so much protein that they've started a fitness Instagram, and the 360 version looks so damn fine. I wish I could make love to it right now. Like I'm willing to bet, at this point, THQ must have had a clear list of requirements when it came to making these games. Picture perfect arenas? Check. Large men with muscles bigger than Australia? Check. Moves that will induce severe back pain? Check. I mean, it isn't perfect, it's a pretty old game after all, but out of the three that I've played so far, SVR 07 is definitely the most polished. Unfortunately though, it seems the roster has taken a bit of a blow, losing notable wrestlers like Chris Jericho, Christian, and of course, Heidenreich.
I know what sex is, but I won't tell you.
But don't worry, THQ's tried to fill that massive hole in your heart by adding in Mr. Kennedy, the Boogeyman, and my personal favourite, the Great Khali.
Holy moly.
However, these great inclusions cannot cover up the fact that THQ removed the Fulfill Your Fantasy match.
What?
No, I know that sounds bad.
Replacing it with a Money in the Bank match, which, works, I think. Okay, it's a bit of a chaotic mess, but I still found it pretty fun. Plus, it isn't the only new thing THQ has thrown at this game, like how we have a whole new control scheme, which admittedly threw me off a little bit. I'm pressing! Basically, THQ must have looked at the old control scheme, thought nah, that's too easy, shredded it, and decided to make the analog stick do about 90% of the heavy lifting, basing the entire grappling system around it. Which, as you can tell, was received about as well as the time Insomniac changed Peter Parker's face from this absolute Chad into a Home Bargains Tom Holland that made everyone cry. Yeah, I'm not really a fan of these new controls, like it doesn't ruin the game or anything, but personally I just think it was a really unnecessary change because there was absolutely nothing wrong with the old controls. Although in saying that, the game more than makes up for this by now having the ultimate controls, which effectively is a feature where you put your opponent into several different holds and then perform a variety of different moves from that particular hold. Like power bombs, pile drivers, a nice DDT turning them into a tree, or a stalling suplex where you can just start squatting them, because the grind never stops. You can also do different stuff depending on where you are, so if you're next to the announce table you can put your opponent through it, or alternatively you can casually throw them straight from the ring to the floor because who needs a spine these days. There's a ton of new environmental attacks here too, which are all really unique and fun to play around with, especially especially because this time you don't have an anger-inducing minigame to play. That's right, get in the trash where you belong. On top of that, all these aspects utilise the stamina system in a much more effective way too, as it drains the longer you carry your opponent around for, until you eventually run out of it and can't hold them up any longer. Which, you know, is fairly realistic and also makes a lot more sense than you just collapsing after a light jog. Speaking of realism, SVR 7 not only keeps up the current trend of wrestlers under 6 foot being unable to lift anything heavier than a KFC bucket,
I'm about to cry.
but have also added in that bigger wrestlers are now left absolutely unfazed if you dare attempt to strike them while weighing anything less than your average grizzly bear. Oh, and before I forget, you can also fight in the crowd, presumably destroying some very expensive equipment, or if that's not your thing, you can just dive off this very tall scaffolding. Wow, so sick. Other than that, the gameplay is pretty similar to the previous games, from moves that give you a recommended daily dose of brain trauma to the incredibly satisfying chair shots. However, with THQ now cramming in all these new features whilst getting rid of any remaining issues, mainly the fucking mini-games, SVR 7 manages to evolve into a much more well-rounded and refined game, which still holds up to this day.
This is something else.
Sure, the controls are a bit weird at first.